Okay, hello, Maralyn. Thank you for hosting me this weekend out here at Lawn Chair Church. So I would like you to share with our audience about Lawn Chair Church. How did you come to start it, and why do you do it? Please.
As soon as you say Lawn Chair Church, I can't say it without this big grin coming on my face. I literally get this grin from ear to ear. And why did I start it? This is a campsite, and it's a very transient community. Although there's some that they camp here all year round. They rush in on a Friday or a night or a Saturday morning, and then they're off on Sunday afternoon. So it's a quick weekend community. And church is very important to me. I grew up where I went to church every Sunday, and I think that church should always be available. But I think also I may have a different definition of church. Like there's a standard church, and 9 months out of the year, or whatever, 6 months out of the year, I attend. I am deacon at St. Columba in Beaumont, and so I'm there, and I'm assisting our wonderful priest. But in the summer I camp. So because I camp, I still need to have church. So I was driving, 35 minutes away, and it was one of my neighbors a few years ago that said, "Well, you're ordained. Why can't you do church?" And I thought, well, why can't I? So I saw the bishop, and I got her blessing on it, and she said, "Of course you can do church." So I started Lawn Chair Church, and I set up my gazebo, which is a 10 by 12, and what I like about Lawn Chair Church is that it's, I think, what every church should be. It's small, it's intimate. It reminds me of the old, I think, house churches that probably started, the way we started thousands of years ago. And we share. So if I read scripture or somebody reads scripture, then we all get to talk. Well, what did you get from that? How did God speak to you in that scripture? What was the message for you that you're hearing today at this time in your life? And when you've got 4 or 5 different people sitting around, and you've got some that are Eastern Orthodox and some who are Lutheran, I seem to, a lot of Lutherans come. I have a Lutheran pastor that when she's out here, she comes. And so when you get all the different opinions and throw in some Anglicans and some Catholics, you're getting different perspectives from our own history. And that's neat. That's neat. And I get excited about it. And then I can play the drum. We have guitar. I have all these percussion instruments, and we shake rattles and rolls, but more importantly than all of that, we have laughter. We have music. We have scripture. We light a candle at the beginning of the service before we even start, and we light it to celebrate something good. I'm celebrating my anniversary this week, for example, or I light this candle because my sister's having surgery this week, and would everybody pray for her? The surgery's happening on Thursday. So we always have candles, and we always take time, and there's community. And of course we do have the sacraments. Starting this year we have reserved sacraments. I'm a deacon, so it's reserved sacraments. When I have a visiting priest or pastor, then they do that part of the service. So it's neat. So I've learned to play the ukulele. Not well. I'm terrible. I'm the worst ukulele player in the world. But my guitar player only comes every second weekend. So I thought we need live music. And my neighbor across the street took up the ukulele. So between the two of us, and the rest shake rattles. So when I hear Lawn Chair Church, I get a grin. And sometimes I have one person, sometimes I have 10 people. Sometimes I have children. Sometimes I have very old people. But they're all God's children. And last week, and as an outreach of Lawn Chair Church, every year I pick a theme, and I invite all my neighbors for 2 blocks around to come to a theme party. And this year it was Mexican. Last year I did Western Days. I think 3 years ago I did the 50s, and they dress up, and it's potluck, and there's music. But before it starts, they wait for grace.
Yeah.
And we say grace. And that's church to me.
Yeah.
And last Sunday, we had the party on Saturday. On Sunday, I sat here in the gazebo, me and the Lord, because nobody else was around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I went over to visit later on, and I was talking to some neighbors, and I said, what do you really think of this woman sitting 2 doors away in her gazebo? Do I look silly? Do you think it's ridiculous that a person would hold church and some Sundays no one come? What do you think of that? Because being clergy, being a minister of any type, being a missionary, can be lonely at times. You know, and there's times where you go, what am I doing, God? There's just me here, me. And then I go, but the Lord is here. So I said to them, what do you think? And they said, oh, we can hear you. We can hear your music. We can hear your words. And don't ever stop. And I said, why? Why shouldn't I stop? And they said, because it's comforting to know that you're there. And we hear. And we sit outside. So they are going to church.
Yes.
They're just not coming in to the gazebo.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. So you plan on continuing then?
Yeah, every week I record my numbers.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I do. And it's always wonderful when there's 4 or 5.
Yes, of
course. And it's wonderful when you get the interfaith aspect of it. And, and if you look at the altar, and you'll get a chance because you're staying tomorrow, I mean, we may have smudge before, I would hope.
We could,
We may use our drums, right?
Yes.
I would hope.
Yep, absolutely.
And you will see there's an Eastern Orthodox cross there that someone brought. There's a candle somebody brought from Jerusalem. There's all these different things. I have shells from the Sea of Galilee, you know, and these candles that we light.
Yeah.
And it's in holy sand from the second hole off the golf course.
Okay. Yeah.
That sand's been blessed many a time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Right, yeah,
we have a lot of competition here. It's pretty hard to compete with golf, you know, on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's interesting because some of the men in the area said somebody was not being very, very nice, and they were sawing and hammering away on a Sunday morning, and they went over and said to them, be quiet, church is happening over there.
Excellent. Very good. So you're having an impact that you're not always aware of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
God is moving here.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not Maralyn moving. I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
God is at work here, and community is being built, and new people come in to the campground. Last week, it was wonderful. We had weekenders that parked next to me, and of course they had to be invited to the theme party. I mean, how can you be in the midst of something and not be invited? So I went over and I said, listen, you've got 2 little kids. Well, they had a teenager and a little guy, Zach. And I said, we're having this theme party. It's potluck. You don't have to bring anything. We'll have way too much food. And you're invited because you have to be invited because you're right in the middle of the party. And the next morning, little Zach, who was 4, got up and he said to his mom and dad, oh, where's the party gone? Where's the party gone? They said, well, there's not another party until next year. Next year's theme is Halloween, so the kids are all excited, right?
Yeah.
So are the parents. So these people said to me, we've decided we're going to come into this campground. We're going to ask if there's a spot for us. Because in all the places that we've camped, never have we been so welcome.
Wow.
That's church.
Yes.
That's community.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. Thank you very much, Maralyn.
You're welcome.